I'm going live once again. At first, I wasn't gonna go live, but I was just like, you know what? Why not? Let's just dive right into the deep stuff, the topics that nobody wants to talk about, and if they do, skim right through. And so, yeah, today we're gonna talk about patriotism. So being patriotic, even when it looks not so patriotic on the outside. So, okay. All right, let's get down to it. All right, we know politics is a touchy subject. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's a taboo. Um, you want to keep a lot of things on the hush and just keep it moving about your day. Here's my thoughts. Here's my take. Okay. So, what I think is, especially since I served in the military, what happens in the government, stays in the government. Whatever they talk about in the White House stays in the White House. Okay, some things might leak out to the public. I'm gonna keep some stuff in house. Okay, it's almost like once you crack an egg, everything is exposed. Okay, so and the same thing for your household. Keep everything in house. Yes, you're gonna let some things leak out, but some things, keep to yourself and keep private. And that's how I feel about politics. It's the most touchiest subject besides religion, okay? All right, being a true patriot. That's the toughest thing, okay? So you might look around and say, like, okay, right now we're in a time where people seem like they got to spend a lot of money or they got to, move around a lot more or shuffle money around a lot more or just kind of like network and socialize a whole lot more to get help. But sometimes you do have to do some things in the White House to shake things up and make people talk to other people. Because if the economy was not at an all-time high, people wouldn't talk to each other. They wouldn't try to barter and trade and try to see where they can help or, reach out to other people in their family. Because if you had everything and you didn't need anything, what would be the point to talk to anybody or reach out or try to follow up with anybody? Okay, so just building yourself is something that I see that's going on, even when everybody's like, oh, I got to move out. I got to get out the USA. And I'm thinking to myself, you was born and raised here and you was fine. You will still be fine if you stay here. I did see an article the other day where it said Jay-Z and Beyonce are moving to the Ukraine, but they made all their money here in America. They started off millionaires, they went to billionaires, all here in America. So they built their roots, they, did what they had to do here. Then they want to move out. And I'm like, okay, it's some people fighting to get to America. It's some people fighting, they're, getting on boats, they're, running and, saving all that they have to get to America. It's a reason for that. This land of opportunity, home of the free, home of the brave. I know y'all remember this growing up, saying the Pledge of Allegiance, singing that song, proud to be an American, at least I know I'm free. And so we sung that whole song and I started to build my patriotism, from a young lady. When I went to school and I said the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, I said, you know what? This country might have went through some hard times where, I'd say people of color maybe had a hard time. A case may be, I didn't grow up during those times, so I didn't experience some of the things maybe like, somebody older than me went through. But I do know that my patriotism and my love for the country still lives inside me. I do see a lot of poverty around me. I do see some people, have their little change jar out or, have their hands out or they have their little cardboard sign saying we'll work for money. And I think to myself, some countries, they're not allowed to do that. and they don't have programs, out there to help people get out of poverty or get out of homelessness and things of that nature. So I wouldn't say like I'm a true patriot, die hard and I have a American flag outside of my door. No. But at the same time, I am proud that I grew up in this country. I learned, how to read, write, how to drive, how to take care of myself, and how to present myself. And pretty much anywhere I go, they know that I'm American, you know. And regardless of who is in the White House or who is, in office, because it might not just be like president, it might be other delegates or other, hierarchy up there that's making up the government. Regardless who is up there, I still have my patriotism. Because you got to think about this. Hey, you got to take the good with the bad. You can't always have good times. You got to have some, hard times and dull times, challenging times, times where you got to bite your tongue, times where you got to deal with what's going on in the White House. And that's what's going to build your character and your strength to move through and say, you know what? They might be struggling in the White House to get things together, or things might not be all wrapped tight. But I'm not going to go to another country and put down, my roots and where I started out at and where I make my money and where my family is safe. And for the most part, we can, survive. Now, I can't say everybody in America is living like that. Hey, I can't say everybody in America is living like that. But I can say that this is the land of opportunity. And if you really put forth hard effort and things of that nature, then you will have a chance. Sometimes people say, oh, it's, because the language I speak or the color of my skin or things of that nature, but my experience has been, I've been able to find a job. I've been able to clothe myself, take care of my children, feed myself, get married and establish my roots here. And so I have that patriotism. And people say, oh, it's because you served in the military. I had this in me before I served in the military. Sometimes you're just born with something. Nobody had to tell me, hey, be proud of your state. Be proud of your country. I walked around with that pride. When I went overseas, they said, we like the way you speak. Can you teach me English? Hey, or can you help me develop my networking skills or my time management skills? They asked me questions like that, and I showed them I'm readily available. This is what I learned here. This is how I travel. I'm showing people how to speak English, how to drive at times. I know a lady even in America, she was from India. She said, can you teach me how to drive? She saw that, in her country, she was saying a lot of women don't get the same opportunity that they get here in America. The women where she was from, they were not allowed to drive. They were only allowed to stay at home and cook and clean and things of that nature. They was hardly even, allowed to have a job, let alone a car. Okay. So I am thankful, that I was born here in America. I had a lot of opportunity available to me. I've traveled a lot of places and I got to see, in Iraq. And this one lady said, hey, you can't walk beside your husband. You just can't. You would get in big trouble. That would be bad. It would be a social taboo. You have to walk 10 feet behind him. 10 feet. To make sure that made sure he was in front of you and that he was doing what he needed to do first, and then you can come along with him. And I realized we don't have that in America. You can walk anywhere you want to walk. You can go anywhere you want to go. You can go outside at night by yourself if you want to. If some places in America, you can leave your door unlocked. You don't have to lock your door all the time. I mean, when I was growing up, when I was in the country, we didn't have to lock our doors. At night, you could go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and your house wouldn't be broken into or nothing like that, okay? I can't say that for everybody. 'Cause certain places you live, you have to lock your door, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes it's a choice of where you chose to stay at and where you chose to live at. And did you want to move? You probably didn't want to move. And if you had a chance to move, you just didn't move. That's fine. But I did want to let you know, that's part of taking the good with the bad. If you grew up in a rugged neighborhood or something like that, then that's what you're used to. And you're okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, but I want to say, right now is really crucial that if you're a patriot and you have patriotism, stay strong and true to that. Thank you. Stay strong and true to that. And don't let anybody take that away from you, because the freedom that we have here in America is not the same in other countries. I'm telling you, I've been to other countries, not just Iraq. I went overseas to Korea, and the one lady said, "Hey, my husband said he was mad when I got pregnant," and I said, "Why?" There was a rule over there: you can have no more than 2 children, 2. And they would have to get rid of the child. I don't know what they did. I don't, but if you have more than 2 children, something would happen to them. So yeah, I would say and I found that out. I think I was like maybe 18 or 19. This is when I first got into the military. And I got to see how women were living overseas. It was a whole lot different. I did have this one lady come up to me and she said, "Can you please help me? Please help me, please." And she started breaking down crying. And I'm like, calm down. What's wrong with you? Why are you acting like this? Because to me, I still have this mindset I'm free. I can do whatever I want to do. If I want to get some Starbucks or if I want to get, whatever I want to get is my choice. Let me go outside and let me go get it. She was like, "Somebody took my visa. Somebody took my visa. I'm stuck here. I can't go home." And she was like, "I'm what is it called? I forgot what it's called. It's not Ajima. I don't know if you ever been overseas to Korea, you know what I'm talking about. Where it's a woman that can come to your house and you pay for them and they clean up and they cook. And yes, I'm a veteran. Yeah, thank you for your service as well. And so they cook and they clean and they do all the things that the person wants them to do, that pays for them to stay at the house. So, and I watched a video about this too. It's called Soylent Green, and where a woman already comes with the place that you order, and you can just scroll through and say, "Hey, I like the way this person looks. I'm gonna live with them," and you kind of make it like a live-in home or something like that. And this was in Korea, okay? You just scroll through, okay, she's gonna stay with me, she's gonna do this, and you assign them. And this lady explained to me, she's like, "I can't leave." She's like, "I came here to do a work visa, and I was supposed to be making money, and I was supposed to be able to go back home to the Philippines, to my family and take care of them." She said, "I don't speak the language." She didn't speak Korean, but she was assigned to this place that she was staying, and she could not leave because somebody took her passport or whatever her identity was to be able to go back to the Philippines. And she was like, they said I would eventually have enough money to work and go back home. I said, "Wow, there's nothing you can do about it." But I'm with the military, so I'm thinking that wouldn't happen to me. I'm an American soldier. My patriotism was built stronger because of the incident. And I felt to myself a lot of ladies don't have the same opportunities in other countries. It's only what your husband says or what your country allows women to do in that country. In America, I know there's been a lot going on that's civil rights and women's rights and all these things that it's rights for everybody here in America. It don't matter what you choose to do. I don't care if you was born a woman and you don't want to be a woman and you want to turn into a man, you can do that here in America and be safe. In other countries, it's not the same. It's the same thing, vice versa. If you was born a man and you want to be a woman, you can change that, and you don't have to suffer so many consequences that you would in another country. Other countries, they might try to attack you or take your life and nothing will be done about it. But not here in America. You got so many more, rights and opportunities here. And I don't take that for granted. I know some people just like, okay, well, what if I didn't have these experiences in the military? What if I didn't, have social media and see that you can be free to do whatever you want to do? You can wear whatever you want to wear when you walk outside. You can wear whatever, as long as you're covering your body. Because I know you can probably get, locked behind bars if you come outside naked. But you can come outside with, short shorts and a bikini shirt on, and nothing will happen to you. Some countries you got to cover everything up from head to toe, or something might happen to you, for men or women. So I don't want to say take advantage of what you have if you stay in America, because I know some people that watch me may not be from America, and they may not have these same freedoms, and they might not know what it is to be able to, wear their hair out, or show any type of skin. Because I did go to one of the houses of the ladies when I was overseas in Iraq, and she wore a hijab. Okay, and she wasn't even Muslim. She just wore hijab because, you don't have to be Muslim to wear a hijab. Sometimes it's just your demographics. We're in a desert place. It's more convenient to wear a hijab because it covers up your whole face. And then she had the one that covers, from here to here. Okay, so you can see her eyes, but it's covering her nose and her mouth because there's a lot of wind storms or sandstorms. And so when you're over there, you might, be eating dirt and sand and all that, or walking through and just while you're walking, just swallow a whole bunch of dirt. Okay. All right. So she was like, that's the reason for her wearing a full, covering. It's like, you're shaking off dirt. You got dirt on everything. When you come in the house, it's dirt. You got to sweep 2 or 3 times a day. Okay. Here in America, it's not like that. Okay. The AC is up and working. We got clean water. You can wash your clothes any time of day and night. I'll tell you, when I was overseas, there will always be like some type of blackout. Like the internet wouldn't be working. And I'm like, I gotta come back home to America. I need my internet. I need, my hot or cold showers. I can choose, which one I want. I don't want brown water and it's looking all murky and dirty, and there's no sanitation. If you ever been to like a third world country, you know what I'm talking about. People that are well traveled and well versed, like you don't have the same amenities that you have in America everywhere. You just don't. It's places that I went overseas where they don't even have a toilet. There's no toilet. Okay. It's flat ground, and the toilet is underneath the concrete. And you sit down and you squat and then you use the restroom. And you can't make any noises. That was overseas when I was in Korea. You couldn't make noises in the bathroom. That was impolite. That was not, it was a social taboo. You don't do that. So if you gotta do what you gotta do, you better do it at home or something. But you couldn't make a lot of noise in the bathroom. Even washing your hands, you need to do that as quiet as possible. Don't talk on your phones and do all the stuff that we be doing in America. We a whole lot freer than what we think. When I was in Korea, I was like, oh my gosh, like they can't talk on the subway, like, or you can't talk on the train. Everybody was quiet. They didn't want to sit beside me because I was American. I was like, wow, this is just interesting. And then every time I went to the store, everything that I, purchased, they were just like, why are you getting that? And looking at me like, why, why does America allow you to eat this? And, and it was just like, what did I get? I don't know if it was Skittles or a Sour Head. And the Korean person was like, that's too sweet. That's too sweet. And I was like, why are you pointing your hand at me like that? In America, you can choose if you want to lose all your teeth and eat a whole bunch of sugar, it's your choice. If you want to eat a fatty burger, it's your choice. So I was just like, if I want to, splurge or whatever, spend all my money up, it's my choice. Okay. In other countries, there's a lot of strict rules, a lot of strict rules, and that you have to get used to when you start traveling a lot. If you don't travel a lot, you probably just like, oh, all you might know is the area that you're in. But if you travel a whole lot, places that I go, sometimes you have to tailor your attitude or your the way that you do things to the way that that country does things. Okay. Um, so yeah, let's see. Where else did I go? I went to Germany. Okay, that was interesting too. I went to Germany and I'm just like the candy bars. Okay, I used to be like, I used to read everything before I would eat it. If you're that type of person, you know what I'm talking about. So I turned the back of the label and I'm like, they have alcohol in their candy. The chocolates got. You ever seen Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory? You know what I'm talking about. He say candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. So yeah, they can add different things to the candy to make it taste better. And I asked the person at the desk like, do you allow your children to eat this candy? They're like, yeah. That was a social norm in Germany, and I was just like, wow. In America, you can't drink until you're 21. So sometimes you just got to be thankful when you go other places that they don't they hold on, how can I explain it? It's hard to explain. It's I don't want to say like you don't want to go there, because yes, you want to visit, yes, you want to travel, but just be happy that you were born in America or born where you were born. You might not necessarily be in America. You might be in Hawaii or something like that, but you're a part of the 50 states. But you're still have the freedoms, the American freedoms. You see what I'm saying? And so don't let me get this wrong. But also another thing that I saw when I was in Germany, it was so clean. It was so clean. The airport looked like immaculate. Like if you try to touch anything, you felt bad for touching anything. It was so clean there. The airports here in America, okay, listen, you can sit anywhere you want to sit. You can pop your feet up. You can take your shoes off, do some flips, cut up at the food. Yeah, ain't nothing gonna happen to you. But not in Germany. You might get arrested if you at the food at the airport. Okay. And then, so what else did I see out there that I thought was interesting? When I was in Germany, because I'm trying to remember. Sometimes you're so used to the Americanized way of doing things, you don't even notice that it's different in another country until you you know, actually pay close attention. Um, so yeah, there was alcohol in the candy, and then also it was something else I meant to say. I should have wrote it down. When I was like, I'm on the live or whatever. Um, yeah, they didn't check for the age limit. Oh yeah, also they let their children drink coffee. And so I was like, no, not in America. You can't let your children drink coffee, or at least that's the social taboo for me. I've never let my children just drink any coffee. And if I did, it was probably, like a little bit from hot chocolate or something. I mixed it in so they could see what it tastes like. But not like, hey, here's a whole cup of coffee and just jump all over and act, any kind of way. But yeah, it's like, yeah, we just let our children drink coffee and they can have, a little bit of alcohol. It's like, it says a small amount of alcohol in the chocolate. And so it won't even affect them. And I was like, what? So, just gotta have your patriotism, okay? Have your patriotism, because our kids might be drunk right now, especially during Halloween. Because, kids, they go all out when it's Halloween on the candy and all that kind of stuff, okay? Here in America. All right. But anyways, what else I was going to say that I really missed? I know when I left America a couple of times, couple of countries I went to, I said, I like to travel. I like to go see people, but I miss being in America. I really do. Because at the time I was really big on McDonald's. I went over there and I ordered a hamburger and I'm like, this is not ham. I know ham in the hamburger. And it wasn't even ham, it was beef. But still, I know what a hamburger tastes like, okay? And that wasn't it. You know, in two different countries. I hate to put other countries down. But I'm just saying, it did not taste the same. Okay, I don't know what that was. It was probably a mystery meat or forever meat or whatever these kind of things is going on. You know what I mean? Hola, ¿cómo está? Bien, bien, how you doing? And yeah, so you know, certain places when you go to visit, the cuisine is different, and so what you're used to tasting is different, you know. And so yeah, forever meat. Sorry, y'all. I don't know what that was. I know I also went overseas to Iraq and they had the meat hung up from some type of string. It was just coming down like this. And then they was taking a long machete and just chopping it down and just giving you a long slice of meat. And I was like, okay, I'm not used to this in America. Like the food is prepared behind closed doors. Like I wasn't really used to street food. But some countries, they just have a lot of food out there on the street, and then you just watching them prepare it and just chop it up and stuff. And I'm like, you know, I'm used to seeing, yeah, street meat. I'm used to seeing my stuff, you know, prepared in the back, and then they come out, and then it's like sizzling, or, and then you just dive right in and you taste it. I'm gonna do another video on like the food and stuff. But yeah, I'm telling you, it can be a cultural shock, you know, other country you go to. That's all I'm saying. Just while you're here in America, even if you're not American, you know, get some patriotism, you know, and visit some places here in America, different states, because different states do things differently as well. But for the most part, you can travel freely without a passport in America. And so that's why I keep my patriotism, because say I don't like the state that I'm in, I can move to a whole nother state, start all over and do what I need to do. Yeah. And you know, and then I can travel somewhere else. But for the most part, I know the social norms. Because I know when I went to Korea, I was just not really used to the social norms there. I think that has the biggest difference. Like I saw a big difference. You know, when I was talking, I sound really loud. And you could probably barely hear me on this live. This is talking loud for me. When I was overseas in Korea, it sounded, I want to say, they thought I was yelling. And every time I talked, and I'm just like, you know, what's going on? She's like, my one friend, she was telling me she was Korean. Like, they don't really talk a lot. And they also don't talk loud out in public. And I'm like, what? You know, so y'all don't have concerts? Y'all don't do any, like, what? I mean, what, how do you get it live? How do you get it going? You know what I mean? Pass little modesty, pick with. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, they said they don't give you fish with the eyes on it. Yes, yeah, they did. But the craziest thing when I was in Korea, okay, it was my first time tasting sushi. Okay, so they did have the rice, and then they had the suit. They had little fish, and they would put them inside of the packed rice in the circle with the little seaweed around it. Y'all, tell me why I taste a little bit like they had the rice and the seaweed on it. I'm like, I'm not gonna eat that fish because it looked like it was still alive. Okay, I don't want to say, I don't think I saw any eyes on it, but still, I was like, you know, I like sushi, but the one with, yeah, no meat or nothing in it, because that was just moving right along. The street food in Korea was street food. Okay, when I say I don't want to say they eat anything, but it was different. This is the first time I saw somebody cook squid and eat squid. Okay? He said, "Fun, what do you eat chicken for?" Yeah. I went out there and I'm like, I'm seeing these little creatures move around and slide around, and they just picking it up and then chop and then frying it. I'm like, oh, Oh my God, I can't, y'all. I'm sorry, let me stop. I'm too dramatic, but I was like, I have to get back to America because I'm used to like just not seeing anybody take the live animal and then chop and then cook it right there in front of me. I was terrified, y'all. I don't know. So yeah, yeah, I'm telling you, they was eating almost every sea creature known to man. They was cooking out there. I'm telling you, and it's just like pulling it right out the water and pointing, do you want this one? And I'm like, no, no, I'm not even hungry anymore. I don't want to see my food moving and stuff before I get ready to eat it. No, no, this is fresh. No, I don't, I don't care. I don't care about the fresh and the nutrients, all that stuff you trying to tell me. No, thank you. I'm out of here. But anyways, that built my patriotism even more because I think just out of respect for like the American traditions and ways, cook it back in the kitchen and then bring it out to me. And I don't want to see anything moving on my plate, okay? I don't want to see anything moving on my plate. It's like pull right out the water and salt right. Let me see over there. Yeah. Yeah, there's no obesity over there. So I would say like even though they have these exotic creatures, I didn't see a whole bunch of fat people when I was in Korea. They was all slim and trim. And I don't even think I saw a gym out there. That's why I was like, we have all these gyms in America and we still got, a problem with obesity. Yeah, you're right. So yeah. It's like, where'd that come from? Yeah. How are they able to stay so slim and trim? I don't know. I think it's because they eat in smaller portions. Because I'll look at their plate and I'm like, you got like 7 things on the plate, but then the portion is like this small. So, like the kimchi, just like 2 spoonsful of kimchi on the plate. And I'm like, okay, it's like, they had their perfect portion size. And then they would just have like 7 different things or, 8. It was just a lot of things on their plate, but just in small portions. And I was like, that's probably why, they say so small because I felt like I was a giant over there as well. That's another thing. Like, I think being in America, I'm short to be American. I'm like 5'3", 5'4". When I went over there, everybody is like 4'11" is like the average. I think for men, it's like 5'2", 5'3" is the average. That's tall for them. So I was like, oh my God, like I'm a giant. I'm like taller. I'm looking over the men there. Okay, I'm tall. Like I'm like big and tall. And to me, I'm like my weight when I went to the doctor is the average weight and height for a woman. And for my weight, I'm the average height for my woman, like for a woman. But over there, the women, no, it's like 4'11" and 100 pounds or less. And I'm like, wow. The same thing is that because their food not probably. Oh yeah, that's probably too. And then the shoe sizes over there. I don't think I could find any shoes that were my size. I had to always get mine tailored or made because all their shoes over there was like for little feet. Little feet. I don't know. I'm telling you, American, I think we are big and tall. Big and tall. You'll see if you go to like an Asian or a Filipino country, they're a whole lot smaller and a whole lot, you would think that you were a giant when you go to like those Asian countries or either overeat something. You start to analyze yourself and be more critical towards the way that I want to say when I went over there, I was the most self-critical that I've ever been. I criticized myself on everything that I ate. Because they used to be like, why are you eating that? They would literally like point to you like, I'm like, why are you doing that? Like out in public, like that, so I was like, wow, you shouldn't make too much noise or you shouldn't eat that sugar like that. Like I think the elders have more power in, other countries than here in America. Like you listen to your elders a little bit here, but you don't give them like so much, power and authority over your life like they do in other countries. Your elders, they speak first, and they're more important, and what they have to say and the traditions, I want to say, is a whole lot more important. So in America, you got the freedom to choose, hey, listen, I can't do everything the way everybody did it the past, 100 and 200 years in our family. I'm going to do something different. Elders should be respected. America got it backwards. Elders do need more respect here. I'm telling you, because, well, I listen, but I will tell you some stories why I don't always give elders the most respect, because when I was in Harris Theaters a couple months back, and this elder guy, he's ringing up my stuff, right? He takes my vegetarian sushi, hides it underneath his desk. Okay. I go out to the car, we done packed everything in the car, and then my daughter's like, "Where's the sushi at?" And I'm like, "I saw him ring it up. Like, where is it in?" But so we searching, looking. We go back to the store. He tell me why he done stole it. Okay, he went home and ate that thing because I said, where's such and such, or the person who took my order. You can see it at the bottom of your ticket or your receipt. Whoever took your order, or rack your food or whatever, or y'all know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, yeah, he stole my food. Okay, that's why I have to give the elders. They ticked down a little bit. They was up here, and then after he done stole my food, I said, you could have just asked. If you needed $5 or $10, that thing costs what, like almost, in Harris Theaters, them things like $10 to $12 now. Okay, and then you want to get the chopsticks too, because you want to make you seem like you're in another country, but still be, in America. So yeah, Taco Tuesdays sometimes. I like to, I like to explore other cultures. Okay, but just here in America, but where I know I'm kind of like a little bit more freer, and some things are just taper back a little bit. A little bit. I ain't gonna say everywhere because I haven't traveled everywhere. Just some of the, yeah, I got Taco Tuesdays. Okay, you have to have some tacos on Tuesday. You have to. Okay. Um, and I've never been to a Hispanic country. I've never been to like, I would love to go to like maybe Puerto Rico, Cuba, or maybe even Mexico, like somewhere where the Spanish speaking population. I would love to go over there and just to see. Because like I can't really speak on that. But definitely I've been to Korea, and I've been to Iraq, and Germany. And so those are my experiences that made me want to say, even though it was nice experiences, and I'm just sharing with y'all some of the parts where I just wasn't used to, it was still a good experience. But I was so happy to come back to America. Okay, after I got off the plane, I wanted to kiss the ground. Okay, kiss the soil and say, I'm glad to be back. Okay, me either. I'm just glad. I just like saying hola is more welcome. Yeah, yeah, it is. Hola, ¿cómo está? Yeah, and then say the FBA channels be bad. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. I just say I'm more patriotic now, especially since I'm older. Like, and I've been to different countries where I didn't see some of the same freedoms. That just makes me even more patriotic. Now, I know, y'all, that we are going through some times in our country right now. Okay. A lot of people are not doing well. A lot of people are, paycheck to paycheck, or two or more jobs, or they can't really relax and do lives like this, or, hang out with friends and families. You can't chew gum in Singapore. Yeah. So you do have to be careful when you travel, especially, if you're not used to the social norms. Learn the laws before you travel. Yeah. Try to do some research and, learn more about the place that you go before you go, just to make sure you don't do the wrong thing and you mess around, you can't come back to America. Like that one lady I was telling y'all about, she's like, she can never come back to her country because somebody stole her visa. So you got to have a backup plan when you travel, and you maybe don't know exactly where you're going to, and you don't know anybody there. Then you better be prepared, and try to speak another language if you do travel outside of the United States. Yeah, that's crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, I experienced it firsthand. That lady was crying. And I was like, I think I was like 18 or 19. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do to help her. I was like, oh my God, she was crying and she was like trying to hold me, like, please, oh my God, help me. Somebody stole my visa. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, because I'm thinking like everybody's from America. Everybody can just go back and just tell them, hey, I'm American. You can see I clearly speak English. I lost my passport or I lost my luggage and I need to get back where I need to go. You have travel insurance. Like you have some way to connect you back to the United States. But, in other countries, your freedom can easily be, taken away from you. And you can't just call somebody back at home and like, oh, help me. Because maybe she said Philippines, maybe $10,000 a year is good enough for them to live off of. But nobody can just come there and rescue her because they're not making enough money to even, live there. And I was like, wow, so you don't even have no backup. She can call the police or nothing. And I know my phone number over there, it started with like 011 or something like that. It was really crazy. You know where the embassy at and who working in the days you there. Yep. Know the embassy, know where that's at, and know your local government officials and get their numbers to try. You better try. I know when I went over there, they gave me a little card, and it was in Korean that said I was an American soldier, and if I do get lost or something happens, it was a translation for if I ever got lost that I could just give to somebody, and they would take me back to post. So I know when I went off post, and I didn't speak any Korean. That's why I ended up getting me some battle buddies that spoke Korean. That's another thing too. If you don't speak another language, you better get some friends that do speak another language before you go in a country where, yeah, anytime, yeah. And I think you would love to serve for your country when you know that you got freedoms. But yeah, definitely, like I was saying, get you some friends that speak another language so that if you do travel and go outside of the U.S., you have somebody that can interpret it for you or who can help you and knows like their way. Because I know I did have this one friend, from Ghana. And she was like, oh yeah, I want to take you, to Africa so you can go to the motherland and you can meet and do all this kind of stuff. I was like, okay. I would love to travel and let me just see. And then see how my funds are and stuff like that. She was like, if you go to Africa, she was saying, you can find a home way cheaper than you can in America. But she did explain to me that there was a lot of impoverished parts that you don't want to get lost in those parts because you will never come back to America. And so she explained that the best way possible to me. And I felt where she was coming from. Like, listen, you got a lot of freedom here in America. She's like, that's why she saves so much money to come here. Because she said it's different for women there. It's a whole lot different. The men can get away with a whole bunch of stuff in Africa than they couldn't get away with in America. Okay? And so she was saying, too, if you go over there, you want to speak some of the language or try to talk to some of the locals. Because if not, she's like, a lot of stuff can happen to you and you may not make it back. And I'm like, she keep on saying that. Yeah. I said, wow, too. Because I was like, that made me not even want to go because I want to go somewhere where I'm comfortable. But she was just saying that's at the rugged parts. And if you stay in America, you might go to a rugged part, but you might can still make it out alive. Not the sundowns parts. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you go to the hood and you stumble across the wrong territory, you might can still make it out alive. Just let them know, hey, I'm lost and I've never been here and I apologize and I'm about to bounce. I won't be back. There you go. You're done. Some places I don't want to say you can't just do that. They'll take everything from you and then you'll just be like, I'm lost. Yeah, so because I've been lost before in America. I have been lost before in America, and it was very frightening and scary. But when I got lost, I think when I first started driving, and I didn't want to take no map or no map quest, and I was hard headed. I was like, I'm gonna find my way. I'm gonna find my way. I used to think I was so, just I can do anything and I don't need no map, and the map is in my head and I can find a North Star and all this kind of, yeah. That's how I used to be. All right, so one time I got lost and I pulled up to this hotel and say, I'm looking for this program where I'm supposed to have a conference. And he looked at me like, you better get out of here. This is not the spot for you. This is for ladies that just doing all the stuff that they ain't supposed to be doing. I said, oh, I'm out of here. To me, and sometimes I can just tell by the look on somebody's face, you're not supposed to be there. I was out. And I'm gonna tell you, I drove like maybe 10 minutes away. And this is back when the hotels was cheap, y'all. Nice ones. Marriott, Holiday Inn, and all these, it was $30 to stay a night. Now it's like $300. But this is back when it was $30, y'all. I got a swimming pool, breakfast, you name it, just 2 beds, TV, and it's just me, okay, for $30. Not no more. Yeah, not no more. So things have went up. Like I said, this country has changed, but for the most part, my patriotism has stayed strong. Okay, I stand behind the American way of life. I know when I was in the military, we used to have to say the Army motto, and it went like, I'm an American soldier, I'm a warrior and a member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values. I'll always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. And I'm trained proficient in my warrior tasks and duties. I protect the American way of life. I am an American soldier. It went something like that. Okay. So I want to say it was brainwashed, but it was ingrained and instilled in you to love the American way of life. So that even if you did go to another country where you thought or had an inkling that it was a little bit better or life was different, you will always want to come back. And I think now too, even if you go to another country, I think you got to pay taxes to America anyway. So eventually you probably gonna have to come back. But I would say things are going to change. The government's not going to stay the same. The president is not going to stay the same. The ideas and the way that they run the country is not going to stay the same. So it's good for you to maintain your patriotism. And so, yeah, I've been on here for quite some time. Y'all, I'm going to go ahead and get off. It was nice spending time with y'all. I'm going to try to go live on TikTok and try this out. And I will see y'all. Bye. Pew, 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 pew. Signing out.